Do you know how to create a slave?
How?
You take the mind and you use the body. Potential that we all have as human beings. Life is a game. Like, you got to know the rules and you got to know the score. And then the rules, that you're the one essentially that creates the rules. So while I was doing stand-up, I ended up catching a DUI around that time, like 2014. It was pretty powerful, right? And but if you guys are interested, look up You Are a Psychic. It's like an MIT book. And it was like MIT students did a study on the human abilities of psychic ability or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it would just talk about, you have auditory auditory psychics, visionary psychics, prophetic knower psychic, touch, all that, you know. Mm. And it was just, I was like, this is weird, you know? But it helped me understand the mechanics of us as a body, like as a physical conduit for this energy or these energies. And I mean, I was like, oh shit. So it was like really powerful stuff. And I was just like, and the more you start to exercise that, right, you start to see things. Like you start to have these kind of visions. You start to, like, everybody has it, man. Like, remember that time when you're in your car and you're just thinking about this song and all of a sudden it comes on?
Mm-hmm. Many times.
Or you're thinking about this person you haven't talked to in a while, and all of a sudden they call.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the thing that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like you're going and I see the future. I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? Maybe there are people like, I don't know. But what I'm talking about is just a very surface level, very blanket. Everybody experienced it. You know, that feeling of like you walk into a room and you could feel there was an argument happen there, or like a fight just happened. You could feel the tension, like that ability, right? Or that gut wrenching situation or feeling in your gut, and you're like, I shouldn't be here. And all of a sudden something happens. You're like, ooh, I had a feeling that was going to happen. That hearing, right? Like, man, I can hear this
sense feeling.
Yeah, all of that, bro. Like, and once you start to tap into those things, and you can hear it in people's language, which psychic ability they have more of. Like, that's more. Everybody has it. Everybody has every single one of those, right? But one or more stronger than the other. Mm-hmm. So you can hear it in their language. So if somebody says, I see what you're saying, that's a visionary psychic, right? They say, I see what you're saying. If somebody says, I feel what you're saying, right? That's somebody who has like touch, like that's that feel like thing.
You're getting into like a neuro-linguistic programming there. Like there's a lot of, it's like people see that worldview, which happens, you know, connecting to psychic.
Yeah. So this all is going to come together. Watch. So, okay. Yeah.
I'm excited, man.
So, yeah. So, because what I'm trying to get at is like it's a universe of potential that we all have as human beings, and this is where it all starts. Is once you start, life is a game, man. Like, you got to know the rules and you got to know the score. And that's what we're doing. You got to play. And then the rules, you're the one essentially that creates the rules. Or you let other people make the rules for you and you follow those. At the end of the day, the rules are what you make. And just make sure that you're making the rules in a position where you can win and help others win. But so you can hear it in the language. I see what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. That's auditory. I feel what you're saying. I know what you're saying. When somebody says, I know what you're saying, they're more intuitive. You know what I'm saying? Like they have like this knowingness of like they can see truth. They can feel the truth. It's like a combination of all those that create the knowingness. And once you start to exercise every one of those things, you get to that point of like, you can damn near see the future. Mm-hmm. But it's not that you can see the future. All you're seeing is patterns. You could see and feel the pattern. You can feel when you're in disalignment. So now I start to understand that, right? So then it starts to open up. I'm like, what else do I want? I was like, okay, I wasn't in school. I couldn't afford school. So I dropped out of college like multiple times. And so I ended up I ended up just buying a bunch of books. I'd spend like $80. I would go to work and I'd spend like $80 on a bunch of books. Intuitively, I would just choose, because it seemed to me that I was learning because of these books. You know what I'm saying? Like the Tai Chi book, the You Are Psychic book, whatever. So I started, what else do I want? I picked up psychology books, picked up like Qigong, fighting books, anything to do with like
I wonder if physical. I have some of your books.
Business books, philosophy books. So I picked up all kinds of stuff. Bruce Lee was a big one that I picked up. Striking Thoughts. I mean, if you just watch the 30 for 30 on Be Water, very powerful. And he talks about the same exact stuff, man. It's like being open, right? That's what being water is. It's like water can flow, water can crash. It's the same analogy as the electricity, right? It's all there. It's all here. It's all the same. And it's how you apply those pieces. It's how you apply those given tools, utilizing those tools at the right moment, right? You don't use the drill with a nail. You know what I'm saying? You use a hammer. Like, you don't use a jackhammer when you have paint.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but that doesn't mean the jackhammer is not a necessary tool or
an effective tool.
Occasion. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So when you have all of these things, but when you want to understand and know what tools you have and what is your accessibility, what's accessible for you, and that's why I feel a lot of people, or like myself, I speak a lot of people because of myself, and is that when you lack any understanding or have any education and knowing what's accessible to you, something that you already have, man, like what your body is already capable of doing. You know what I'm saying? Like I just told you about these psychic abilities, but most people would just brush it off and be like, oh, it's just a coincidence. Right? Like they're like, oh, psychic abilities, like that's weird.
Yeah, they always have like a shield, a barrier, resistance.
You know what I mean? So now it's like, okay, perfect. And that's fine. Ignorance could be bliss, but it also could keep you from seeing amazing things, like experiencing amazing things. And so I was so open to that. And I was like, all right, what else we got? And so it became from that book. So I started reading all these other books, and then books on sales and like business management, and just trying to, get more grounded because I was so out there, like, oh,
yeah,
law of attraction.
I think it's very important.
Now I need practical. I need something I can apply these tools in a practical sense here on Earth, right? In my actual life, what's going to help me? Because I can philosophize all day. I'm like, yeah, I know this, I know that, blah, 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 but I'll still be broke. Or else I won't be living the life of my desire. I could be talking about potentially living those desires. I could talk about potentially applying those techniques or whatever the case may be. And then it became, I read Think and Grow Rich and Succeed and Grow Rich Through Persuasion and Napoleon Hill. And then that was the biggest push forward on a practical level, because they talk about that. They talk about cosmic habit force. They talk about the mastermind. They talk about going the extra mile. They talk about sound health. They talk about, all these principles of success, and it has to do with actually putting yourself in a position where you're taking an idea or a plan and you're putting it into a practical plan of action and then taking action. You know what I'm saying? And so here I am wanting money, but yet I was still going in debt because I was having overdraft fees and I wasn't, and I was using credit cards and just maxing them out. You know what I'm saying? I'm eating out, not budgeting, because again, I had a lack of education, financial education. And having an ego or being like, well, fuck money, and like I'd rather, like, who are these people, right? Like, who are these people taking all my money? You know what I mean? I just getting fed up, and then trying to go to school and learn, but something wasn't allowing me to stay in class, whether it was me, whether it was a situation, whether it was the environment, I don't know. But I just kept dropping out. So I got so fed up, and I was like, they took $20,000 or whatever plus. And I'm like, oh my God, and I dropped out and I didn't even finish the full semester. Like, and you guys are already asking me for money. I was like, I quit my job to come to school and you guys are already asking me for money. I was like,
yeah, it's crazy little college loan debt system to have.
Yeah, I'm thinking that I'm paid once I graduate. I'm like, yeah, you guys are telling me I'm gonna get $100,000 job at the end of this for career and I can pay you guys back. Nah, we want
so
to
what were you, what was your major? What did you want to go into before you jumped into your path now, your journey right now?
Well, I wanted to, first I wanted to major in philosophy, then my uncle laughed. He goes, don't do that. He's like, you'll just know a lot of stuff under a bridge. Like, he's like, and then I told him, well, I want to learn psychology as well. And he was like, major in psychology, possibly minor in philosophy. So that was my focus. But before I could get into any of that, I had to do the prerequisites, which I didn't really have enough credits from high school because I barely graduated high school. Crazy stories. But then I was just like, whatever, let's do that. And then I was just so turned off because I just wanted to learn the meat. I wanted to learn the beef, right? I wanted to learn all the stuff I wanted to learn then and not have to go another 2 years or a year of learning algebra and basic English or whatever the case. I was like, whatever. So I dropped out. But I didn't understand the financial repercussions of just doing that. Because now I just put myself in a hole and I don't have anything to show for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man. So it just kept spiraling out. So I was just like, again, having such a bad relationship with my situation and constantly going towards something that wasn't in alignment. And because I couldn't see myself not going to college, I couldn't see myself not continuing school because everybody around me was going to school. Everybody around me was going to college, right? So I went home and I Yahoo'd, it was before Google. I was Yahoo and I was like, who invented school? I was like, fuck that guy. That's what I was saying. I was so pissed off. I was like, who invented school? Fuck that guy.
You want to find him and punch him in the face.
Yeah, so I was like, man, fuck. So I Googled or I Yahoo'd who invented school, and I forget what it was. It was like two separate things. What's the schooling system we have now, which is like industrial or you know what I mean? Like get you to work in the workplace, really just that way. And another one was like very creative. It was like a very creative environment. And they shut that one down and then they just opened up straight up for institutionalized schooling.
So with that, Seth Godin, he talks about how what happened was that the kids were coming off of the farmlands, and when they went into the industry and factory work, that's when all the laws started coming out. So someone would have to double check me on this. But once the laws started coming out about child labor abuse practices and having more restricted hours, they said, what can we do to help form and educate and indoctrinate the children so they learn how to be industry workers the moment they come out? Because now they're not working on farms, but we want to prepare them to become players of the economy and be like basically pawn pieces. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah. No, it talked about that a little bit, but that's not what really struck my fancy. It was went deeper. So I was like, okay, that exists, we're here. Because I knew I couldn't make any changes like that. You know what I mean? It's like to find out all this stuff and you feel how helpless you are and how you can't change any of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You can just only get a better understanding of what is so you can navigate a little better. And that's basically where I was at. Like, again, remember, I was broke, uneducated, I have this ability, but don't know how to apply it yet.
And what was your ability? Identify that for me.
Was basically being able to attract things, right? Like being able to be open to creating, you know what I mean? Like I could kind of see a path and I could kind of go there and see what it would, the potential of what it could be. Like, it's kind of hard to explain, but But the ability of being able to manifest, you know what I'm saying? Like
manifest and know which doors to go through.
It's not even, essentially, but it's kind of hard to explain because because it comes out weird, right? It's like
no, please, I want you to explain it because I think someone out there may be like resonating with this and they'd be like, oh my God, I do feel the same way and I want to apply this tactic, you know?
Yeah, it's just basically having that ability to want something and attract it. Like I know how to like get there, but I know it takes work to get there. But at the end of the day, it will happen regardless. Like that was the ability, but I just didn't know how to direct it. I didn't know how to wield it because it didn't matter if I wanted it or didn't want it. It was coming my way, and I was in such a momentum of a failure, right? A failure momentum where I was just losing back to back, taking L's left and right. Like, what is going on? And then just wallowing in that and just like, ugh, it didn't feel good. And it affected me physically. I was overweight, bro. I was like 208 pounds at one time. I was eating bad. I never worked out. Like, I just gave up, essentially. Like, I gave up. Like, I was smoking cigarettes constantly. It was bad, dude. And the one thing that sparked it was when I was Google or Yahoo and Yahoo Advanced School. It said education. And the definition of education said educo, to teach, and it comes from the Latin word to teach from within. So education comes from within. So I was like, huh. It came to me so fast, bro. It was like, I get it. Nobody could take that away from you. Nobody could say you lack education. You know what I'm saying? Other than you.
Mm.
No one could be like, you cannot be educated. Only you can dictate that, whether or not you can be educated. No one can take your education away from you. They could take all the schools away. They could take all the books away. They could take all your resources away, but they can never take away your ability, your education ability, because it comes from within you. If you want to learn something, you're going to learn it. It doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck who you are. You know what I'm saying? A school is just a facility to facilitate a place to further your education. That's it. It's not the place of education. Wherever you're at is where education is. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But those places and those institutions facilitate that. And of course, the politics and wherever you are that can help you along the way, and you know who you meet and network with, and just having that title. Oh, I went to Harvard. I'm in law, and now blah 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 blah. And then you go there for the network. You go there for the not the education per se, because I'm sure somebody with a Harvard law degree is no better than anybody else that studied all the books that they were, because they had the passion, the drive to become a lawyer. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Yeah, I think the only thing would be for me to like wedge it in there, specialized education, maybe like for surgeons where you have to operate on cadavers and stuff.
Yeah.
But like for the most part, anyone can be an autodidact, which means to be self-educated, to have that self-knowledge by reading books, learning through videos, which I learned most of my media technical skills from YouTube, of all places.
You gotta remember Helen Keller.
Mm-hmm.
She can't read.
Yeah.
She's blind.
Yeah.
She can't be taught by somebody talking to her and lecturing her. She's deaf.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But she still learned. Because that's the desire, that education within you is what I'm talking about. And if you take that away from somebody, and the only way to take that is through here. Mm-hmm. You tell them that they can't get it. You tell them they're dumb.
Ooh, you got me vibrating right now.
You know what I mean? Because that's what they do. They try to take. Do you know how to create a slave?
How?
You take the mind and you use the body. what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And once I started understanding that, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna allow myself to be restricted on because I barely graduated high school, where I kept dropping out of college. You know what I'm saying? I almost gave up on education, bro. Like, but then there was something inside me that wanted to learn. And the more I wanted to learn, the more I got it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So I was like, all right, here we go. And I hated reading, bro. Like, oh, reading's for nerds or blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what they fed. I was programmed into that situation, right? That's what I'm saying. My circumstances were created because of my beliefs of the programs. And I was allowing those things to come in. And my judgment of somebody who's not in school is uneducated. Mm-hmm. I was a victim of my own judgment.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I had to break that.
That's powerful, dude. That's powerful.
You know what I mean? Like, I thought I was stupid. I thought I was a loser. I can tell you, maybe people didn't even think that of me, but I did. And that's what made me that. So I had to shift my beliefs. I had to change all that. Like, and it took work, bro. I mean, work. And so going from there, it was like, all right, here I am, education, teach from within, boom, start buying these books. So I started setting while my buddies were all in college and my family's all in college, I'd hear see on Facebook or I see people on thing, they're like, oh, got midterms coming up, or I got, just started school. So when they just started school, I started school. Mm. You know what I mean? Oh, first day of school, boom, I bought these books. I'm buying books on network marketing. I'm buying books on psychology. I'm buying books, I have my own curriculum I started creating. So I'm reading as they're doing, and they have midterms. I started making my own tests, start answering my own stuff, right? And it's so weird, right? I started self-educating myself, like, what?
Did you really wrote yourself your own test?
Yeah, man. Well, it was my own kind of test, you know what I'm saying? Like, applying it certain way. It wasn't like a written test or anything, but it was like, okay, how do I practically apply these things?
That's actually cool, because instead of going having a standardized writing something on a sheet of paper, test paper, or doing a test on an online program, you're like, no, I'm going to apply what I learned and test it out in reality in life and see what kind of results it brings, and then make my adjustments. Yeah, I think that's awesome.
And after a while, I'm reading books on psychology, I'm reading books on philosophy, reading books on all kinds of stuff and business. And I started having conversations with friends and college students, and they're like, dude, what you're talking about is what I'm talking about with, is what my professor's talking about. You know what I mean? Mm. And I heard stories of Steve Jobs sitting in on people's classes in college and stuff. So I was like, oh, you think I can sit in one of the classes? I never got to do that, but he said, maybe, I don't know. I never
for sure, yeah.
I never did that. But then I was able to, but I still went to frat parties. I still went to sorority parties. I still had the college experience almost without the degree, you know what I mean? Without walking across, graduating, not getting a specialized skill or whatever. But then later on, just kind of opened up a door to working at I was working at a restaurant. And so at a restaurant, I was able to apply what I was learning in philosophy, learning how to apply in business, learning how to apply what I was learning in psychology. And I wanted to create this program, which I won't say out loud because it's under development right now, but it was just how to create the best serving experience for guests. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you're developing a program right now?
Yeah.
On serving? Oh, okay. Wow. All right. I like that. I know you're going to bring it in, but I want viewers to know is that the reason why that's so important is because it unlocks some key factors later on. So go on.
Okay. I've served tables for the last for 9+ years, you know what I'm saying? And so I was applying what I was learning there, whether it was law of attraction, whether it was business, whether it was networking, it was how to speak to people, communicating, neuro-linguistic programming. I was doing all kinds of stuff and just applying it. And I was like, wow, this works, right? And then, and so later on, like my tips started getting a bit higher, and I was like, okay, this is generating income. Like, I'm really, I'm really onto something. And then later on, I move on from, I got into stand-up comedy. I like randomly was watching stand-up for a big portion of after high school, and during a little bit of high school, and then after high school, I watched a lot of stand-up comedy because, again, that's what you do when you're damn near depressed, bro. Like you're trying to get that outlet, you're trying to find the funny in life. You know what I'm saying? The irony is that, and that's what makes stand-up comedy. So how that happened was, in my head for a while, I was like, I watched stand-up and I was like, man, I want to do that, right? I was like, I think I could do that. Right? I had an ability to make people laugh to an extent, but I knew it was more than that. And so my boy Jared, not Jared Pettis that you know, but other buddy, he's like a brother to me. And we grew up with each other since like 5th grade. He introduced us to his friend Lavelle. And he goes, hey, I was like, it's my boy Lavelle. I was like, what's up, bro? He's like, he does stand-up comedy. I was like, me too. It just came out of my mouth. Like, me too. And I've never done stand-up comedy in my life. Up until that time. And my buddy was like, no, you don't. But he doesn't out me. He's just like, no, you don't, right? And then Lavelle's like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah. He's like, you should come out to open mic this Monday at Tommy Cheese. It's like, perfect. I'm there, But now I was talking about doing stand-up for so long, like out loud, inside. Inside, having that. Remember asking those questions. I want to be a stand-up comic. I want to do stand-up. You're watching it. So again, like I have this ability to want something, and it comes. So follow. That's the sign, right?
And I want to point out is you'll say it without it even like happening, or you like even begin the process, and you'll just kind of do it, and somehow it works. Like I remember sometimes like you would get into, you'd kind of mind Jedi trick yourself and Jedi trick other people. And then somehow it's like now, oh, it's really happening now. What's going on here? And then you're like, yeah, I told you so. I told you so.
Crazy, man. Mm-hmm. And so I go to that first open mic, and right before they call my name, I go to Lavelle. I was like, bro, I've never done this in my life. And they go, you didn't pass any judgment. He was like, bro, here's your chance. So I went on stage, and then I just bombed ever so gracefully. But
why you put that so loud?
It was amazing though. It was like to be on stage and I didn't bomb, but I got laughs. But just to go on stage with the intention of making people laugh and then receiving some kind of result. But it wasn't like great, I didn't kill, but it was just like an experience. And I was like, and I knew I wanted to do it again. It's like you put a boxer in a ring. The first hit, you'll know if they want to do it again. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with me on the stage. I was like, that first day, I was like, oh yeah, I can do this again. I want to do this again. So then it was almost in a session, right? It was like, okay, like, what is stand-up comedy? Who invented stand-up comedy? Who influences who? I started wanting to know the spirit of stand-up comedy, right? So I started studying, picking up books, whatever I could find. Not books, but like Yahoo, stand-up comedy, all these principles, all these things. Just learn what a punchline is, what a callback is, what a tag is, all this stuff, dude. Didn't miss a week of comedy for like 4 years straight. Like it was the one thing I did religiously. I didn't go to school more times than I've ever done stand-up comedy at the time. I never see my family as much as you know what I'm saying? I never see my girlfriend at the time. Times that I did stand-up comedy, it was just like, it was something I did religiously that was just so easy. It was effortless, bro. And I was like, oh, this is something that I want. And then it without knowing, bro, like this is all unconscious, bro. Like it opened up so many doors and opportunities. Everything that I've learned, everything that I was applying, from networking to philosophy to engaging with people at work and with other people, that all applied. That was all these tools and techniques all put together. Created me on that stage, right? I Like all that came together for me to be on that stage. Somebody had stage presence. I wasn't the funniest comic, but I had stage presence. I had energy. I was there. You know what I mean? I was performing. And I was like, man. So then it became, oh man, I want to produce stand-up. Like, because I went to a couple shows. I'm like, oh man, I think I could do this, right? So I started producing. So that was my business side kicking in. Like, okay, how can I produce these comedy shows? Started making lineups, pretty solid lineups. I knew how to line them up and how to build the lineup where it would crescendo up, and it wouldn't be like this. But it'd be like, funny.
Yeah, keep the audience engaged.
Yeah, man. And so I kind of knew how to just place all that, put it together. But it was all a one-man thing, dude. I had no team. I didn't have any help, so I got exhausted after a while. So it was just like me producing shows once a year or whatever. But I had the potential of like being a top producer, but again, it wasn't my path. I already felt it. Like that wasn't my true calling. Right?
That wasn't like, it was a passion, but it wasn't like a passion mixed in with that purpose feeling at the same
Correct.
time. Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I played poker for a long time, so it was like no one to fold them, no one to keep putting. You know what I'm saying? So it was like you end up. I ended up having like this understanding, like, okay, there's something more that I want. And it wasn't until I met a buddy, Charlie, who was an actor. And I was like, man, he's talking about acting. I want to act. Like, I like acting. My sister bought me like a Groupon for an acting class for like 4 days for a month, whatever. And I was like, man, this is it. I like this, you know what I'm saying? But I never went back to that. So there was that yearning to be an actor was still there somewhere, right? So while I was doing stand-up, I end up catching a DUI around that time, like 2014. Ended up getting a DUI.
Like and subscribe on YouTube. Booty in your face.
We found true happiness.